What is up, YouTube? I am back, and I'm in much higher spirits than when I was in my rant. Um, which shows that sometimes talking about things does make it better. Today I don't have my mic as I have the past couple of days, so the audio might be in and out. But luckily, I figured out how to put subtitles on these videos, so you can read along as I get. So we're gonna play some Stealth Masters and yap a little bit. I think today what I wanted to talk about, which I think made me think about my rant first and foremost, and the second thing I was thinking about what my mom told me. Right. So the topic for today is going to be failing and failing, like failing over and over again, but not quitting. Right. That idea of perseverance, and I think that is very, very, very important for Christian men especially. So the reason why I'm saying this is because we often think about things as just like if it doesn't work, give up. Which in some cases you do. Sometimes you have to leave stuff because it might not be. But in a day and age where everything comes so quickly, we see so many people succeeding by the time you see like these 16-year-old millionaires and things of that nature, right? But that's not normal, and that has not been the case for most of human history. So, like, the idea of perseverance has been lost on many of us for that reason. Even sometimes me, because I'm around some people who have reached really high levels of wealth at very, very, very young ages. With me aiming to do the same thing because I was in those circles. Um, so I tried, right? But of course, things doesn't always work out the same. Everyone's journey is not the same, and as a result, you have to be able to accept that, right? And so for me, I think that it comes second nature. Like I'll rant, I'll rave, I'll be upset, I'll cry a little bit. Not really cry, I'm not much of a crier, but like sentimental. I'll struggle. I'll mope about it for a bit. Um, but yeah, so like struggle, and it's a part of the process. Honestly, I think it builds resilience. So going back to the idea of like failing over and over again, quitting, that comes from a biblical space as well, right? We talk about our walk with Christ. It's never promised us to be easy because when God tells us in Proverbs that to come to all those who are heavy laden and weary, he says, "Come to me, and my burden is light." So he doesn't tell us that his burden is non-existent, but it will be a burden that we must carry, being followers of Christ. And so that means he tells us that the race is not given to the swift, but those who endure until the end. He's already letting us know that it's about failing sometimes, but never giving up. So, and I think that's something that's really important because, especially as men, where there's little grace given to us in the line of failure, especially as we're being leaders, I think we have to start developing that grit that's necessary for it. So, I think that's one thing that I wanted to talk about because I think it made me feel really good when my mom told me that my success is going to be inevitable. She believes that some of the goals that I've been are possible because she says like you're one of the very few people that I know that no matter what happens, by the time you already have failed or that door has closed in your face, a person has told you no about an opportunity. Already on to the next idea. Already on to the next. She's like, it's rare that I've seen this. She's always heard like rich people or successful people say that, oh, I tried and I failed over and over and over again. I'm the first person she saw in real life that no matter what happens, I don't give up. I just try again. Or I try something different. I make sure that I learn from my mistake, and then just keep moving, keep iterating, and keep learning as I go. So think that like it's super important for us to know that, not to say that failure won't happen, but to know that when failure does happen, that you learn something from it, and then if you do, how do you not repeat the same mistake? So I think that's a super valuable lesson. Sometimes it needs to be said out loud. Sometimes you may not get the success that you need, but you build the character in the process of having the ability to know that things won't always go your way. How do you respond to that? How do you get back up? Have you built the endurance to make sure that no matter what life throws at you, you come back stronger, you come back wiser, you come back a better leader, you come back with a brand new skill set, you come back with a mindset that greater is He that's in me than that He's in the world. No matter what happens, I trust that God was for me. God has me. So I think that it's an under taught, understated. Ooh, I was not paying. Oh! You got me. 1625. Oh my goodness. Yapping and getting shot at. Oh my goodness. I didn't even know that happened. The first time I ever messed up a while they're up here wandering around like you're not supposed to. Bro, what? I'm sorry, guys. I'm 100% distracted because this has never happened. I didn't even know he was in here. Bro, where did he even come from? We want to get yeah, so as you can see, failure is not failure is not the end of the world. So one of the things I was recently mentoring one of my mentor young black men who are interested in medicine research. Being that I pursued both, I had the programs that allow you to pursue both, um, and now I'm mostly. And one of my mentees had a pretty rude awakening that there was a lot of stuff, life was happening, and he performed poorly in his courses. You know that he went to medical school, grades are super important, vanity metrics. Not necessarily are you going to be in a position, but do you complete the coursework and do you have the fortitude to kind of handle the stress realistically? Um, so he was obviously shocked, right? He knows that these expectations are on him if he wants to get medical school as his dream. You doctor. But yeah, so he was stressed out. And one of the things I told him was first and foremost, I told him about all my failures. I let him know that I didn't get to where I got without any failure, without any purpose. That was the first thing. Second thing is, I reminded him that failure is not fatal and success is not fatal. What does that mean? So just because you succeeded at one point in time doesn't mean that you'll always continue to succeed. So it's much better to fail sooner in your journey than later. Why? Because people will expect you to make mistakes earlier in the journey because there's only so much information, only so much knowledge that you have. So the less knowledge you have, the more forgiving it is. So it's better to fail early than to fail late. My old mentor used to tell me this that fail fast and fail often, right? So the quicker you get that failure over with, the sooner you can move on to the next mistake and learn the next lesson. So I told him all these things. Yes, it's much easier said than done. Like I said, I've had my fair shares of failure, and it hurts. It 100% hurts. And in some cases, if it's been a me where it's a thing you've been working on and dedicated 10 years of your life to, and now is no longer available to you, it's going to feel like a death because your entire, at that point, 30%, 50% of your life has been tied up into a pursuit of a single goal. So yeah, so it's been, so when I told him that, it felt a little bit better knowing that yeah, you're not the only one, and your journey's not over. Now you have to figure out: are you going to pick yourself back up? Are you going to learn from your mistakes? Figure out how to do this next round better, and just fail forward, right? So now you know a pitfall. You've learned something. Sure, you may have learned a lesson that someone tried to warn you about beforehand, but you learned it now. There's no reason to repeat it. And I think the other part of that lesson was also the fact that like sometimes God has for you what's meant for you, right? As I said before. And I advised him already that for most cases in medical school now, that most people are going to take a gap. Most people are going to need more time to mature into that space to become a physician. Less and less common now. You're seeing people, especially here in the United States, going straight from undergrad, college, into medical school. And I was telling him that he should take advantage of that time to make sure he is the strongest athlete possible. Get more experience, spread things out, make it a little bit easier on himself so that he can be as well prepared and not burnt out before he gets to that very and he insisted, no, 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 you went straight through, your friends went straight through, I can go straight through. I'm like, just because we did it doesn't mean it was the best way to do it. Everyone has their own path that they need to travel, and he was just insistent, even though I was like, this is probably not the best path. This right here is going to lead to more issues than not. And then by him having this setback, which seems like a setback, right? I told him that this right here is not a setback. Now you've already kind of decided on your own will, your own merit, that yeah, maybe I should do a post back. Maybe I should get more research under my belt. Maybe I should get more experience. I want to take a gap here and make sure that I get to that point where I feel really comfortable, not wasting time, energy, and resources applying when I'm not quite ready yet. And of course, I've been saying this for a while, but I was like, okay, so maybe you had to go through this to understand, or at least put yourself in a situation where a person who's already gone through the process, seen many other people go through the process, advised many other people to go through the process, that you didn't want to take that advice, right? But now you have a reason to take that advice, and it's also going to be something that's going to be better for you. And so sometimes God will remind you of something or put someone in your path to tell you of a path that you need to take, and you're just dead set saying, "No, that's not the path for me." You think you know better, and eventually you wind up going through that path anyway, even just unreluctantly, right? Because even though you didn't want to go that path, now is the path you have to take because that's what God had planned for you. I say immediately I think about Jonah, because God told Jonah to go to the Ninevites and tell them to repent and to turn to the God of the Israelites. And Jonah was like, no, 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 the Ninevites are our enemies. You might as well smite them and destroy them. And God said, no, you're going to go. And because Jonah refused to go, he wound up being in the belly of a giant fish. And you know what? It didn't stop him from doing what he had to do. When he got out of the belly of the fish, he was over there in Nineveh. And guess what? Even though he didn't want to do what God told him to do, he ended up doing what God told him to do anyway. And the Ninevites turned away for him, turned back to God for a little bit, but eventually they fell off, and then God had to destroy them anyway. So Jonah got what he wanted, but all he had to do was be obedient to what God told him to do in the first place. So either you're going to do what God tells you to do, or especially if you're one of His, you're going to do what He tells you to do willingly or willingly, right? So I think the more of the story is failure sometimes is a tool for us to learn, and sometimes it is a tool for course correction. So never beat yourself up over a failure, even if it was preventable or avoidable. Um, Learn from it, and once you can learn from it, now at least it has a purpose. And now that it has a purpose, then it wasn't wasted time, it wasn't wasted energy, it wasn't wasted effort. I think everything that God puts into our life is for a reason, even if it's a time for us to be chastised and learn from it. Sometimes you have to burn your hand a little bit because you have to feel the fire before you realize that your parents told you not to touch the stove because it was hot, and now you know for a fact it's hot. So I think that's the end for this rant. But let me know what you think about this. I think we don't talk about failure quite a bit. We joke on people who fail. That's one of the reasons why some people don't even want to try to reach for success because they're afraid that they tell people I'm going to try to do this big thing. I'm going to try to start a business. I'm going to try to become an engineer. I'm going to try to go to college. I'm going to try to become a doctor. And when they fail, they're like, oh, how do I go back to my family and friends? They thought I was smart. They thought I was gifted. They thought I was talented. They thought I was business savvy. And now I have to go back showing them that I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. So what? At least you tried, right? Most people are too afraid to try. Now I'm not telling you to go out there and be reckless, fail, lose your house, break off all your family members, destroy all your family ties. But don't take that failure as a destiny. Don't take it to heart. Take it as something as a learned opportunity and move forward from it. But that's all I have for today. Definitely looking forward for you guys coming back. I'm gonna try to post any day straight on this channel, see what happens, see what grows, see if you guys like the yap, and then see what topics you guys want to talk about. So if you want me to give my input or my thought on any other topics, let me know. But in the meantime, hope you guys have a blessed day.